By 1857, the British East India Company was the dominant force on the subcontinent, backed by a military and administrative network that appeared entirely immovable. But in early April, that machine stalled. High-ranking officials abruptly abandoned their own legal protocols to carry out an execution in near-total secrecy. The man they were hanging was a sepoy named Mangal Pandey. His death sentence was carried out on April 8th, 10 full days before the date the military court had actually set. This panicked departure from standard procedure revealed a startling truth. The most powerful corporate empire in history viewed this single soldier as a threat to their entire occupation. Pandey was born in 1827 in Uttar Pradesh. Like many young men from his region, he looked to the military for a career, enlisting in the company's army in 1849 at the age of 22. He was assigned to the 34th Bengal Native Infantry as a sepoy, a soldier trained, uniformed, and armed by British officers to enforce British law. At the time, the company's rule was mathematically precarious. They controlled millions of people by employing hundreds of thousands of Indian soldiers to serve as their primary muscle. Because the empire relied on these men to maintain its grip, the British realized that if the sepoys' loyalty wavered, the administration would lose its only means of holding territory. This loyalty was put to the test in the 1850s, when the British began distributing the new Enfield rifle to their regiments. This weapon featured a long barrel and advanced firing mechanism, but its design came with a specific requirement. To load the rifle, soldiers had to physically bite off the ends of heavily greased paper cartridges to keep the gunpowder dry. Then, a specific detail began to circulate through the barracks. The grease on these new cartridges was reportedly made from a mixture of cow and pig fat. For Hindu soldiers, the cow was sacred. For Muslim soldiers, the pig was an abomination. In both cases, the act of biting the cartridge was a violation of their deepest religious convictions. A modernization effort intended to sharpen the infantry's edge instead created a total breakdown in trust, turning formerly loyal sepoys into men with a grievance. On March 29, 1857, that grievance reached its breaking point at the Barrackpore cantonment. Mangal Pandey openly refused to use the new cartridges, directly challenging the authority of his superiors. He didn't stop at personal refusal. He stood before his regiment and called on his fellow soldiers to join him in a mass revolt against their commanders. Pandey's defiance pushed the conflict past a simple labor dispute over equipment. He provided his fellow sepoys with a moral justification for armed resistance. By rushing Pandey to the gallows on April 8th, the British hoped to end the story before it could spread. They believed silence would act as a deterrent. Instead, the news of his death acted as a trigger. By April 20th, sepoys in Kasauli retaliated, setting fire to a local police station. The map of the region soon showed the failure of the British strategy. What started as a single point of friction in Barrackpore splintered westward, reaching the cavalry in Meerut by early May. By May 30th in Lucknow, the uprising had shifted again. It was no longer confined to the military barracks. In the fields of Ismailganj, local farmers and laborers took up positions alongside the sepoys, forming a broad front against British rule. The attempt to execute Mangal Pandey in secret had backfired. The British had accidentally provided the entire country with a symbol of resistance. While the British military eventually regained control of the country through a brutal counter-campaign, they could never return to the status quo that existed before the mutiny. The ideological fire Pandey helped light survived for decades, eventually culminating in the 1947 independence shown on this commemorative stamp. The East India Company was right to be afraid of the man on the gallows. They realized that an empire's control is never absolute. It relies on the compliance of the people, and Pandey was the first to show that such compliance could be withdrawn.